I'm excited to have here with me today Grant Chambers. And Grant is the founder of Workhorse Marketing and the co founder of RacFit. And so, in one world, he is all about helping build brands. And in this new venture, RacFit, he's all about building community. We're going to find out a little bit about what's going on and find out why, well, Grant, why when tennis clubs and health clubs seem to be closing, did you come up with the idea and the motivation to open one?
Good question, and thank you for having me here, Coach Evans. Pleasure to be here, and it is it is an interesting sort of worlds colliding scenario. But to answer your question, we both know that the population in the Austin area has almost doubled in the last 12, 15 years, whatever that is. The last new public courts that were built were 2008, and that was Austin
Wow.
Tennis Center. So our population's almost doubled. While zero new tennis courts have been built, and I would argue that because of COVID or just lack of maintenance, lack of funding, the city and other entities are stretched incredibly thin. Courts haven't been maintained, so we've actually lost some of our public court assets, or a lot of schools were locked up during COVID that were previously hotspots for public tennis, and they're still locked or don't exist anymore. So supply and demand, I think the other would be just pure passion. Like yourself, tennis has played a huge role in my life, and as well as the other partners, and we just see every day how it impacts us and how it impacts others, and we know that especially in a tech town like Austin, we're not building the next $1 billion piece of software, and we're okay with that. We're going to impact a lot of lives, and just we need, there is a demand, and we need more tennis as well as pickleball, which is another part of that topic in the area. So we're getting close to the starting line, and it's been about 6 years in the making.
That was going
Yeah,
to be my next question, was go back to the origin of it. And it's good to hear that you're bringing new pickleball courts online rather than converting tennis courts to pickleball courts.
exactly.
So that, thank you for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So 6 years ago, so this is pre-COVID.
Yes. Pre-COVID, and ironically, this Friday I will travel with my mixed doubles team up to Tyler to play sectionals. 6 years ago, I was traveling with my mixed doubles team up to Tyler to play sectionals, and I drove up there with Mike McVeigh. Mike is one of our founding members as well. Has been at Dripping Springs Racket Club for the last number of years as the director of racket sports, and we were asking ourselves the same question: why doesn't anybody build more tennis courts? And we were focused only on tennis courts at the time. Um,
I think,
and
just to interrupt you for a second, and please come back to the story, but I think it's not usually the first best piece of use for any piece of property, right? It takes a lot of space for a
Right,
tennis court that can only get used by a very small number of people and who pay very little in order to be
yeah,
able to use it. So, um,
you hit the nail on the head, and that's what we realized through discussion. It's the land, and so a lot of people had spun up renderings and ideas for projects only to be roadblocked by access to land. And it makes sense because Austin has been growing so much, land has become so valuable. Anything central, people don't want to use it, for a tennis court. So, but we did it. That was the first few years, actually, was figuring out where is there land that we could afford that makes sense in our business model, in our pro forma. And we had some sort of central opportunities early on, but ultimately we got pushed out a little bit to the city of Buda, which, you go back 20 years and people would say, oh, Buda's way out there, but now it's all sort of part of South Central Austin. In fact, midday, if you're at Riverside and I-35, you're 10 minutes down to our facility. So as everything's expanded, I mean, I would say we barely found some land that fit our budget down there, and so thankful that we did, and here we are looking at opening in November of this year.
Okay. Well, that was one of my other
Yeah.
questions. Can you go through what the scope of the facility is? What will it entail? How many courts, health facilities, other things?
Sure.
Like, what does that look like?
Yep. 8 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, so 8 and 8. One unique thing about the facility is we'll have 2 indoor tennis courts. There are not a lot of indoor courts in the area. Original plans called for 4. Interest rates, construction costs, which just ballooned during COVID, really caused us to have to scale down a little bit. We had to scale down and actually raise some more funds to make it all work. But we will have a 22,000 square foot indoor facility that has 2 courts, 2 fitness rooms. So we have about 1,500 square feet of fitness space. We have an active care room, which is our 3 years old and up child care room.
Okay.
Locker rooms, men's and women's locker rooms. A digital sports room inside the building.
What is that?
Yeah, super excited. I think it's to me, that who knows how popular or not it will be, but to me that one room signifies the direction we're trying to take sports, or the sport of tennis, pickleball, into an environment that's full of sound, full of visuals, full of groups of people, as opposed to maybe what some think of the older country club model as, hush hush tennis, 2 members out on court 8, duking it out for 2 hours. And love that part of it as well. I do that all the time. But the digital sports room is its own room indoors. It's a 13-foot interactive screen, touchscreen,
Okay.
that you can hit against various types of balls. So you could throw a ball against the wall, you could hit a tennis ball against the wall, you could hit a pickleball against the wall. And there are about 100 games that are programmed into the system, many of them tennis or pickleball related, but also a lot of fun interactive kids games, things popping up on the screen.
So similar to what you might see in a golf simulator at PGA Tour Superstore or something like that?
Exactly, right,
Okay.
exactly. So just a new interactive environment in that room. So when you walk in our facility, we want you to hear music. We want you to see kids and adults in the interactive room using the big 13-foot screen. We want you to see people lounging around. There'll be a full indoor-outdoor bar, so bar, cafe, very family-friendly approach there. But we do have a full liquor license. So parents, friends, everybody just communing and hanging around and either playing or watching tennis, or outside watching tennis and or pickleball. We do have 4 of our pickleball courts are covered. So that's also a unique feature for the pickleball courts, and maybe one day we'll be able to climatize those. Although,
So the 2 indoor courts are full indoors, walls,
yes,
climate controlled, everything, whereas the pickleball courts are covered.
Yes.
So in a misty situation, probably somebody could continue playing as long as there's not too much wind.
absolutely, and the cover extends well beyond the baselines and the sidelines, so it would have to be a pretty sideways rain to really shut those courts down. So tennis and pickleball is rain or shine, unless it's a massive storm, and we're excited to bring that reliability and consistency to the community. There's nothing worse than you're all geared up and signed up for your group tennis class, and it rains and cancels it. That's the worst thing in the world. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. So I mentioned fitness is an interesting prong of what we're doing. A lot of group classes as well. Not a huge, large equipment approach to our fitness, but we have an amazing fitness director. Her name's Karen White. She worked at the Buda YMCA for 8 or 9 years. She's coming over to us and really has a good pulse on the community and what they want. So the ability to have these standalone fitness classes, but also group fitness classes that help an adult or a kid work on their their agility or their strength because they want to get better at tennis or pickleball is a sort of something we're trying to fuse together in a unique way as well.
I had unique, maybe not so unique because you're in a similar situation, but I took over a public tennis center for the city of Dallas, Samuel Grand Tennis Center, that had 20 courts. And there was nothing going on. It was an absolute ghost town. While it had been the premier facility when it was built in 1963, it had gone downhill ever since. We had to create our own market. There was no other place to kind of even recruit from if we wanted to get people to come out. If they were playing, they were at Lakewood Country Club. And so if you've already moved to a country club, then that's where you are, right? I think the role of public tennis centers is to introduce a lot of people to the sport, and then some that want more amenities and be able to have some of those things move to private facilities.
Right.
But so we had to create from nothing. What's the tennis community in Buda look like?
It's interesting to hear that. Very familiar with that facility. I used to live up in the Metroplex, and actually, I was going to ask you what years you were there.
When did we took over? From 2008 to 2017.
Okay, so that's fairly recently. Okay,
Right.
I wondered if it was before that. So I was at Arlington Tennis Center from '95 to 2000.
Okay.
And I wondered if there was an overlap, but used to go play at Samuel Grand pretty frequently. But so a little bit of the same. The Buda community there aren't a lot of facilities in that area, and so we think that it's somewhat of an untapped. Apologies.
Oh, no
Somewhat of
worries.
an untapped market, and even though there certainly are people down there that already play tennis, our approach is we are there for the wide base of the community. Membership will not be required. We are offering memberships. We have a variety of individual memberships, family memberships, couples memberships, but they're very reasonably priced. They bring great value, I think, for the price, and there's a great reason to be a member, but you don't have to be a member. And so being there for the wide base of the community really means that needs to show up in our programming as well. And I'd be curious now or later to understand how, what some of the programming you all did created success, more play opportunities, got people on the court. We have an incredible team that is working really hard. We're going to release our programming in about 4 weeks. But that's Mike McVeigh, Brad Harris, and Michelle Stollard. They're working very hard on our programming mix across tennis, pickleball, and fitness. It's a lot of group-based programming. There certainly will be room for privates and maybe even our version of a high performance group, which will just be, which I like. What I like about high performance is, we're going to have a range of players, adults and juniors. And high performance, we're usually talking about juniors. Our range won't be anywhere near a place like Austin Tennis Academy. But it doesn't mean the kids at the top of that group don't want more and they don't want to learn more. So giving them a HP identity, I think, is an exciting thing, even if they're, well below what some of the top tier academies are doing. And, like Coach Newman has always said, you go play and that's where you're at. You just say, all right, this is where I'm at. Where do I want to go from here? And so we'll have kids, I think, that want to excel and grow. That'll be our early HP program. But we do want to be there for the wide base of the community, not just a small base of members. Got to make all that work financially, and it'll be interesting to see, how that all works. But if we have the volume and the product is good, I like our chances. So we'll see.
Right. You opened the door for me to share some of what I
Please
learned
do. Yes.
in my experience. Was we really had to grow from nothing. So while I had just finished, when I moved to Dallas from Charlotte, I had been coaching two of the best 13-year-olds in the country. And at one point in time, Ty was probably the best 10-year-old in the world. Like he had won the
Wow.
Little Mo eights in the following year. Instead of playing the nines, he played the tens and won it. And then went on and won the NCAAs. And so
That's big time.
I didn't have any reason to buy into red, orange, and green because he was pre-red, orange, and green. And Ray Lee had lost 3 weeks older than Ty, and she had lost to Madison Keys in the finals of girls 12 clays in a match that if she had just called the ball out on set point in the second set, would have had a chance. And self-call match.
Yeah.
And so she didn't call it. The chair umpire, everybody knew that it was out, but Ray being the kind person
Wow.
that she is, even on clay where she didn't call it.
Wow.
But that's neither here nor there. But so we dug into red, orange, and green. And we brought over a couple people who are now good friends of mine, Chris Suter, who was part of the team that Judy Murray put together in Scotland when she was responsible for developing it, and Mark Tennant, who has a company called Inspire to Coach, who does international coaching.
Okay.
And brought them over to train us. And one of the things that we learned was, because we were, in the U.S., everything was recreational with red, orange, and green at that point in time. A quick start, I think, is what it was referred
That's
to.
right, yeah.
And what it turns out is that everywhere in the world that red, orange, and green had been introduced, it was introduced on the recreational side. And then while rec was figuring it out, that gave an opportunity for player development to take a look and decide how it should be applied.
Mm-hmm.
And then player development adopted it after the recreational side adopted it. So
Interesting.
I was like, okay, so let's take that on, figure it out. I recognized that while I had been a hyper-focused technical coach, I mean, I felt like, I even said publicly that if you gave me a research grant, I could train a chimpanzee how to hit a tennis ball. That's how much I was into technique. What I realized was everything I had done with that, I could still do with red, orange, and green, only now I could add in the tactical element of it, so I could teach from a more tactical perspective instead of just surviving the environment because the balls are bouncing over little kids' heads
Right.
and all of that. So that was an opportunity. Well, it just so happens that when Mark came over, he had just given to the USTA the program for teaching adults, introducing adults using modified format. So he was actually responsible for writing Tennis 10s. He and Mike Barrow were the two people who wrote it for the ITF. And they had introduced it, or given the plan to the USTA. The program internationally was called Tennis Express, but USTA couldn't use it under Tennis Express because Tennis Express, the company that sells equipment, exists in the US.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so we were doing adult beginner programs because we were trying to introduce adults. And I said to Mark while he was here, I said, what would you do with this class if you were to teach it? And so he introduced modified courts and balls and to this group of adults.
Yeah, okay.
And at the end of the class, everybody was amazed because they were having 20, 30 ball rallies the very first day that they were out there doing it. So we decided we were going to have an adult beginner program that started with adults on red courts, 36-foot courts, using orange balls because red balls don't bounce high. I mean, adults have to bend really low for that.
Okay.
So the balls bounced a little bit higher. And then they went to orange courts with green balls. And then, so there's 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks of yellow balls on full courts, and then into our adult beginner drills.
So you had a whole pathway.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we introduced more adults to tennis who then stuck with it than probably any two facilities in the Dallas Metroplex. Over that period of time, it was just amazing how people took to it when it was interactive, so they're rallying from the very first day. There's not some coach standing on the other side of the net barking instructions at them and having them do things.
Right.
And I'll give you the opposite of that. The thing which didn't work, which I didn't know because I had never tried to build a facility from nothing, is I was like, well, what things can we do? And we had made a commitment to, if somebody came to a program we had, we were holding it even if one person came.
Yeah.
That was the deal.
Right.
Well, we tried to introduce cardio tennis, or we introduced cardio tennis,
Yeah.
and one person came. And so there's an adult, yelling at this person to go through the cones and to go through the ladders and hit
Right.
balls and do all. Well, that wasn't a fun thing. There needs to be a critical mass before you can do cardio tennis.
Right.
So we just went through the whole process and said, after about a year and a half, we wrote down everything we had tried, from all of these modified courts and cardio tennis to selling Gatorades out of a cooler. And we said, okay, if it was really horrible, we don't put anything next to it. If it was okay, we put one line, make an X if it was a little better. If it was great, then we circle it. And the things that had X's or X's with circles, we doubled down on. And then we found a
Very
couple of things that might have only had one, fell in some fertile soil, because we were just throwing stuff against the wall, right?
Right.
And some of it didn't hit and stick, but fell into fertile soil, and then over the course of a couple of years, the environment was better to be able to do it. But we had, 2 sheets of a yellow lined legal paper and full of everything we had tried. It was just
That analysis.
innovate, try,
Right.
and see what worked. And so I
That
wish you
is-
the best with that. It's
Well, that's real interesting to hear. One thing that's real interesting about that is the adult red ball, or the adult sort of modified shorter courts, shorter rackets, decompressed balls, is you were having success with it back then, and it's just now becoming something that the USDA is starting to formally push for adults. So
I will give you the lesson, because we
Yeah,
have written
yeah.
curriculum, so I will give that to you.
no, I love that, and the model you just mentioned. I mean, I feel like that translates to what we are trying to do. Absolutely trying to get a lot of beginners out on the court, and we want them to experience success early, kids or adults. And I think Red, Orange, Green has been amazing for that. My kids came up through Red, Orange, Green, and I can't imagine it. I know it did happen another way, and has been successful for decades in another way, but boy, it kept it fun for them. They had success earlier, and I think that's part of what made them want to keep going. So for adults to do that, I think that's phenomenal. The other neat thing is Melissa, my wife, she just drove up to Dallas Saturday for one of her best friend's 50th birthdays. Carrie Hale works for the USDA. She sends me this picture of probably 10, 12 adults. They had gone to a nearby court, and they're all holding 19-inch rackets and foam balls. And I didn't know they were going to do it, but it was everyone from people like my wife who played D1 tennis to people that had never played tennis before, and they all had a phenomenal time together. I think for the reasons that you mentioned, they were able to just have success rallying they use the foam ball, and so they can hit spins if they want, and but ultimately just have rallies, and that's
Right.
fun. No, I appreciate that insight. I think we're going to have to do a lot of trial and error, although I would say with McVeigh and our director of adult tennis, his name is Brad Harris, and he's been in Austin probably since around 2010 or something. I might be off, but I call him a pro's pro. Everybody wants to be on Brad's court. I remember showing up at 6 a.m. at South Austin Tennis, or I showing up at 7 a.m. to hit with Brad, and he's just finishing up a packed cardio tennis class under the lights in the morning, and he has a knack for just motivating people, making it fun. So we're excited especially on the tennis side, get that type of programming going, and hopefully we have hundreds and hundreds of people that are coming to the facility every week.
Can
And
people already sign up for the memberships?
yeah, great question. Actually, we and this is a really good sign, but we put up a construction sign a few years ago, and it said "coming soon." It had our URL, and I think it said something like "join our early bird list," which we now call our priority access list. We have, I checked it a couple days ago, and we have about 1,200 people, so 1,200 people
Wow.
pre-registered. And about 9 weeks ago, we started selling a limited number, 300, which is a good amount, but a limited number of founders memberships. And as of this morning, we're up to about 160. And our goal is to sell all 300 before we open our doors. So if we can open our doors with 300 founders members, and at that point, 1,000 something people on the list that have shown interest in the facility, then hopefully we'll start beating our pro forma numbers, and we'll be more utilized than we had planned originally. One interesting point about that is I keep tabs on sort of the statistics as people fill out the priority access form, and almost 50% mark tennis and pickleball. So we live in a world where a lot of people try to choose one or the other, and I'm maybe a part of the group that is starting to do both. And so I find it interesting, as people register for the priority access list, they're almost 50% of them tell us they're interested in tennis and pickleball. So,
Well, you might get me over there to play pickleball. I've played pickleball once, and it was singles, and it wasn't much fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't much fun.
Gotta play doubles, yeah.
But I also haven't picked up a tennis racket since January.
Yeah.
And so thinking about getting out and playing doubles and playing pickleball, and
Well,
I think anything that keeps people active
Absolutely.
is great. I don't
That's it.
think that we're competing. I think what we compete with is people leading a sedentary life where they're
100%.
sitting in front of this thing, and yeah. So
You said it perfect. And as a high level lifelong tennis player, you'll be a really good pickleball player like that. A lot translates with your wingspan.
but
Watch out.
I was of the age when indoor courts were a big thing. I grew up in Massachusetts, right? So indoor courts, and there was a lot of indoor carpet. So some of the faster courts you will ever experience. So you learn to close in, and that staying out of the kitchen is going to be a hard thing to do.
Well, with the good thing, and seriously, I've seen this as I play against different players. With your wingspan, your ability to sort of protrude into the kitchen is I think you'll be fine.
But that's good. If I
Yeah.
don't have to move my feet much, it's probably a game which is probably why I didn't like singles much. There was still too much
Yeah.
space to cover, and the balls were a little too low. And,
Yeah.
Um,
No, I love it, and I mean I can go play doubles, and if you push yourself, it's a phenomenal workout. And just like tennis, right? You can go out and really push yourself or not. But it's the same type of full body workout where every part of your body's moving, and that's what I love about tennis. There's just something that feels good about moving the whole body, and I think pickleball brings that too. So
yeah, I went back to Samuel Grand sometime beginning of the summer, and they'd taken, when we had a new pro shop built, we took one court and we turned it into four 36-foot courts. Well, they've now turned that into four pickleball courts. And they've taken one bank of two courts, and converted it into all pickleball courts. And a little bit of giant sidewalk where the bleachers were when Davis Cup was there in 1965. They've converted it to pickleball. So I don't know how many they have. 10,
Wow.
10 or more pickleball courts now, and I think
Samuel Grant?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Yep.
the city has really embraced it,
Yeah.
in terms of yeah, putting resources behind it.
Yeah.
And I was someone who, I have to admit, I was old school, and the sound of a pickleball on the courts was like, that's just a funny sound, and it's a little too loud. And I didn't accept pickleball
Right.
players there unless it was a non-busy time and I could put them way down on court 20 away from everybody.
Right.
But it's good to see that it's taken off.
Yeah.
So what does the membership look like? Like if I were to want one of these early bird membership things, what's the cost structure? What are the
Sure.
benefits?
Yeah. God, the list is long, but I'll summarize. So, if someone's looking for an individual membership, you can get a fitness only membership. I believe that's $79 a month. A pickleball only membership is $89 a month, or what we call an all inclusive tennis, fitness, and pickleball membership. I want to say is it's either 109 or 119,
Yeah.
compared to maybe a place like one I looked at recently was Lifetime Fitness, specifically the one off of Mopac in South Austin. Apparently has 10,000 members,
Wow.
but they built some actual pickleball courts, and of course they have amazing facilities. And so there's on some level there's not a comparison, but their individual memberships start around $200, and then you add people, and it really goes up from there. So compared to other facilities, those price points seem to be very reasonable. So then we do have a couples membership, which has been very popular. We slid it in at the last minute. Brad Harris, our director of adult tennis, ran a club out in Sacramento for many years, and he said the couples membership was very popular. So we added it in, and I'd say it probably makes up about 20% of the memberships we've sold. And so that's in between individual and the family, which is up to 4 people. And I believe the baseline model, we have baseline and premium options for all of these, is baseline model's 179.
Yeah.
And then you go up to family, and there's the baseline family is 239, and that's for up to four people. And you can reserve courts. You don't have to pay court fees. You get discounts on any specialty classes. You get free guest passes. You get discounts on merchandise. All of your fitness classes are free. I think it's a very, very value packed list of things we're offering to members. And we want the membership to be the bedrock of the community, the people that really champion RacFit, that are there frequently. We want them to get value out of their membership, because we know they'll tell others, they'll bring their friends, they'll bring their family members. And even though at some point, we don't know what the number is yet, we'll have to cap the number of members that we have. I think they'll help us get there and just create a thriving community. So yeah, we're off to a good start, and a lot of marketing to do in the next 6 weeks to try to get to 300. But that's my job.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I particularly like the idea of couples membership, and for a couple of reasons. One that I hadn't thought of until just now, but is empty nesters. So, and taking on pickleball, right? It tends to be something that as people get a little older and want to be active and continue to want to be social, that pickleball is something that they pick up. And so not
Right.
wanting that family membership, because there is nobody at home. There's nobody else going to be at home. So having just me and my significant other having a place that we can go hang out and do that. And I don't know if pickleball mixed doubles looks like regular mixed doubles, where the man says, get out of the way to the woman. And
I think it does. But yeah.
we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
I'll figure that out as I get into it. But I like that one. But the
Right.
other one is, when I lived in Atlanta, one of my partner at the time, a guy by the name of Danny Carlson, and Danny still winning gold balls in the 70 plus.
Wow.
But he was running a tennis program of which his older son, Chad, was the anchor. And Chad, I guess, lost in the finals of 18 Easter Bowl to Brian Bahaley and was captain of his team at University of Georgia, where they won a couple of NCAAs and whatever. But Chad played one hand on both sides, two forehands.
That's unique.
That happened after second year 14s. I think he finished 22 in the country, and his dad thought it was a bad year. And he decided, well, Chad had been taught or learned to play tennis with his left hand, but was going to give him right hand. But the reason he started playing with his other hand was because Danny was playing what's called ALTA, which is the largest recreational league, Atlanta Lawn Tennis Association.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And they make it a family affair. So their format is 5 lines, so it's 2, 2, and then 1 play. So they make it a family affair, and it was done largely because neighborhoods were building 2 courts as part of their recreational package. It was mandated that you had, and so you had to either set aside land or have this rec package, which ended up being 2 courts and a pool for most subdivisions.
Sure.
So they created a format which fit within it. It became very community oriented because it was like an all-day thing, and so people would bring food, and if you weren't playing yet or you had finished playing, you would watch other people's kids and all that. Well, Chad would be tootling around when he was a little kid and picked up tennis balls with his dominant hand. And so then when it came time to pick up a racket, it was with his other hand.
Interesting.
But so
Yeah.
kids in Atlanta learned to be tennis players because it was all they ever knew. They were just used to mom and dad are out there playing, and it's a social thing.
Right.
And so by having that couples membership, getting the young couples in, that then as they have children, they will start introducing the children to tennis, which then builds the junior program, which then,
I love that. Yeah. And you know what else I like about that? That pickleball has done such a good job of creating that environment. You know that you can show up at a facility or courts and likely get in. You know, you don't necessarily have to be registered for a clinic, or you don't have to have created a group that you're going to take to a facility and play. They have so many open play opportunities. You go in, you know your level, you throw your paddle down, and when it's your turn, you get in, and then you move up, you move down, and it can be these sort of all day or all morning or all afternoon affairs. We absolutely want to see that community on the pickleball courts, but we want it to be on the tennis courts as well. And I love hearing, you don't see it very often, but I love hearing you talk about a success story, because we want to create that environment, almost like a racket stacking environment. Just show up, doesn't matter what time. There's going to be open play from whatever 8 to noon or 2 to 6, or maybe it's a prime time spot, and maybe you're playing dingles or 105 or something fun that's very accessible, and you can mix levels, or king of the court, or move up, move down. There's a lot of ways to do it, and but creating that environment is at the very top of our list. So that's I'm gonna have to ask you more about that.
I'm loving the fact that this is going to be about community, because I'm enough older than you are that, I came up on public courts during the boom. So, everybody, Jimmy Connors and Chrissy Everett and Eli Nastasi were kind of the names at the time, even before McEnroe. And so you went to a public court and you could do that and be that next person on. And if
awesome.
You were a parent with a child and you were both kind of taking it up at the same time, which is kind of what happened with my dad and I, that if there were some older people who were more established in the sport, they would call you over and give you some little tips and pointers.
Yeah,
why don't you have them
great.
do this? And it was very much a community type of thing. And I think we've lost a lot of that. So to hear that that's part of what you're trying to bring back with RacFit is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there Are there expansion plans? Is this it, or is this a model that you think can scale either through internal growth or duplicating it in other places?
Good question. On our existing land in Buda, it's been the last few weeks as we've seen everything start to come together. We actually realized we have a little more room left there, so we could expand on our existing property if need be. But one of the things we said early on was we're not trying to be huge or massive. We want to be that local community destination, a pillar in the community that we're serving, not necessarily a regional destination.
But I call that spot in the village.
Spot in the village. We absolutely want to be a spot in the village, and maybe that was partially because land is so expensive, and we knew we couldn't go get 10 or 12 acres. We're going to have to get something smaller. But so that our dream is to first be successful and then replicate. I will say that because of some of the people that have come into our organization, we're already looking at 3 other locations. And but we have to temper ourselves and say, all right, let's get one up first and be successful at one. But I mentioned Michelle Stollard. She's our general manager. She ran Horseshoe Bay for 15 plus years. Yeah. Then was out in Midland with her husband Tim Stollard at the Bush Tennis Center. Tim was out there for about 10 years, and before that, Tim was here in the Austin area, and has just done. Both of them have done so much for tennis for many, many decades. That also means they know a lot of people, and so Michelle's coming in as our GM now. Tim is the executive director of the RacFit Foundation, which is our foundation arm. Which our immediate goals are: how do we bridge the gap for individuals or families that can't quite afford a membership at RacFit or can't afford programming, especially on the youth side. So we're already raising funds to help bridge that gap. We don't yet know what the demand or the need will be, but there will be a need, whether it's in the Buda community or outside of the Buda community. But already raising funds for that. In fact, this past weekend, I didn't get to go, but Tim was there because he organized the whole thing. One of our founders, John Hernandez, got to go out to Midland, where Tim held a fundraiser that he's been holding for many years. It's a tennis event. It's a pickleball event. It's a fun run. And it all kind of culminates with a concert, which was headlined by Pat Green and Django Walker. And they raised a whole bunch of money, not just for the RacFit Foundation, but we were, one of the main beneficiaries. And so even before our doors are open, Tim is already blazing trails, raising funds. So we're going to be ready to help bridge that gap for kids and families in the Buda area. He's done so much over, not just in the Texas area, but across the country and really across the world, that the RacFit Foundation will become a huge focus of ours. And if we can open these other locations, it only helps amplify the impact and the need, really. But Austin is not unique. There aren't new tennis facilities popping up all over the place.
No.
And there certainly aren't new ones that have this sort of entertainment energy, social energy, community energy that we are planning. And if it is successful, then we think, all right, maybe we've moved. I mean, we talk about moving tennis into the future to achieve those things. But as I talk to you, I realize that no, actually, that community atmosphere has existed before. In this part of the country, maybe we've just lost it a little bit, and so in that regard, we're trying to bring it back.
I think in many places we lost it, right? So tennis went through, particularly places where there were indoor tennis courts, clubs were losing courts to aerobic studios and for a long time. So that I think if we were to look at what does that footprint look like of total numbers of courts, it was diminishing, shrinking for a significant period of time. And it's
Wow.
hard to bring new things online.
Yeah.
The city of Dallas had done a study of what did people want in the community versus what existed,
Right.
and the number of courts that existed versus what the demand was it was something like 8% of the was all that existed, and there were no plans to bring anything new online. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, Fair
Wow.
Oaks has gone offline, so that was
Gosh.
whatever 12, 14 courts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was on a floodplain, so they couldn't keep bringing in the fire trucks to hose off the courts every time it rained. But we're losing courts,
Yeah.
and I
But
know that the
demand is going up.
USTA has some money that's available in terms of
Mm-hmm.
grants, but it doesn't get a court built necessarily. And
Right.
when you're talking about, well, what do those pro formas look like, and who really has an interest in even sitting down at a table and doing it on the back of a napkin first to see, does
Right.
this even make sense to look at?
Yeah.
So what was the initial group of people look like when you first kind of came up with this? Because you said that you
Yeah.
had to bring on some more people for investment and things because
Right.
the numbers kind of changed with construction costs going up.
One of my favorite parts of it, because it's so community driven. It's been an amazing experience to see who has wanted to be a part of what we're building and have brought real dollars to the table. The USDA, like you're saying, I was on the phone last week actually with Todd Carlson and the tennis venue division, and you're right. Even though they quadrupled or whatever it was, the amount they earmarked $10 million this year to help refurbish or build new courts across the country. And Todd said, I said, how much? Because we're talking with, they're going to help support RacFit, hopefully. And I said, how much of that 10 million have you already awarded? And he said 11. And he said they had gotten the green light to keep going. And I said, I think he agrees that they should double, triple, quadruple that budget. I mean, I can't think of anything because of all the things you just said that would be more important than maintaining the courts we have across the country and building new ones, because the infrastructure is very, very outdated. A lot of it from maybe the boom in the 70s.
Yeah.
But for us, so I'll start with our managing members, and that's 5 of us: myself, Mike McVeigh, Brad Harris, John Hernandez, and Blake Hutchinson. And we all have our own sort of background in tennis and reasons for being passionate about tennis. And as we've seen in the last couple of years, passion for pickleball as well. But it really is, at the end of the day, it is, I think about this a lot. I think pickleball and tennis are just the mechanisms to drive health and wellness. And so, but there's such a great community around those sports as well. So the community and helping people with their health, with their well-being, is all the way at the top. Tennis and pickleball and fitness classes are kind of the mechanism to get there. We have a group of about, I think it's 36 different investors.
Wow.
So for our project, we didn't set out for this to be an expensive project. To me, it is. It's a lot of money. It's, when all's said and done, it's going to be about $7 million for the land and the improvements. I know there are facilities that spend double that easily. But from the beginning, we said we want to be more like a community CrossFit gym than a mahogany railed marble floor club. And And so, although it's going to be very nice, our vibe is kind of it's industrial, but it's new, and so it's going to be a beautiful facility, but not with those types of finish outs. So at the end of the day, we needed to raise $2 million, and so early on, we met an individual who's opened a few bars in the actually a tennis player. His name's Keith. He owns Black Sheep Lodge and Haymaker and some other places that have been successful. And so he told us about this model where he needed whatever he needed, and he said, "Well, I'm going to open up individual shares at $25,000 a share," and it worked for him. It's almost more like a friends and family raise, and we liked that model, and I'm glad we did it because most people have bought one share, and it's a group of unbelievably passionate tennis and pickleball enthusiasts in our local community. So one thing we try to explain to the Buda community is we're not a PE firm coming in with big dollars and popping up 10 new pickleball tennis facilities. This is very local, very homegrown, not just us and our money and our time, but the community as well. And so then we have other investors that bought 2 shares, 3 shares, a few bought 4, one bought 8. And then very thankful that our largest investor is the Sheffield family. So Brian and Kit specifically like what we're doing and wanted to help. I mean, they
Who support most things in the tennis community.
It's
here
unbelievable
in Austin anyways.
what they continue to do. In fact, I'll slide this in. I do a lot of volunteer work for the Capital Area Tennis Association, and one of our goals is to refurbish these pods of 2 courts around the city. Ramsey Park is our first target. It's north central, and the courts are so bad the city isn't going to redo them anytime soon. And we had Dobbs Construction go look at them. They're beyond resurfacing. They need to be reconstructed. So we need to float a 5-inch post tension slab on top of what's there. Hopefully get new fences and lights. But those courts have been there since the 50s. So they've served generation after generation after generation. The Sheffield family are the first private donors to come to the table and say, we'll give you money, not all of it, but we will dedicate money for these courts and go find us more. We'll give you money for those. And they just continue to show up and do more and more for the public tennis community in Austin. So
at every level. So you're talking at the very grassroots all the way up to helping bring the highest levels of tennis to Austin for people to be able to witness.
The whole, and they connect them all. They like to connect them all. So they take an event like the ATX Open and they connect it to the community. And I think that's what they're doing is pretty mind-blowing. And we're the whole community is extremely thankful that they are supporting tennis like they are. So they're in our group of 36 investors, but it's just an incredible group of people who we haven't had to go back to them and ask, for anything more. In fact, what we want to do is we want to get open. We want to start showing a profit, so we start to pay them back. That's our short-term goal, and that's how we're structured. Most of our distributable cash flow goes to pay our investors back, and so extremely thankful for all of them. I could list a bunch of names that a lot of people have that, and I just maybe they kind of also know there's such a demand for pickleball and tennis in the area, and we just need more facilities, and so they.
I think that if you've been in tennis for a while, particularly if you came through it as a junior or if you've had kids come through it as a junior, you recognize the benefit that it's had for you and your family, and so you're willing to give back so that those opportunities exist for many more.
That's it. Yep.
And that's awesome. So have you started hiring, like if I wanted to get a job cleaning restrooms or cutting grass or emptying the trash cans off the courts. Like
You're hired.
how would somebody go about seeing if there are opportunities available for them to work there?
Yes, thanks for bringing that up. We were one person away from having our leadership team, our management team, fully hired, which is great. And the one position we still need to fill is the food and beverage manager, which is mostly managing the bar. We will have some food trucks on site, and so this person will manage those things. So other than that, we have our customer experience manager hired, Jake Plotkin. He's a really great guy. Comes to us from the world of Top Golf, and now we actually have Michelle has worked with him, and they've hired several part-time customer experience associates to help run our welcome center, our front desk, pro shop area. Let's see, Abby is our active care manager. Mentioned Karen earlier. She's our fitness director.
So this, like, she'll be hiring, I don't want to say babysitters, but the people that will be caring for these
Yes.
young people.
Correct.
So you're trying to get in the leadership team and those key positions.
Yes.
And then let them loose to hiring
Exactly.
staff that will be under them.
That's right. That's right.
Is that something that's happening or about to happen?
It's happening. Yeah,
So they are hiring for
Yes.
the positions underneath them.
they are. Yes.
All the way up to the people that you barely see. I don't want to say down to, because I don't want to say that, somebody walking around
Right.
making sure there's no trash on, that they're the bottom, because they're not. We don't wipe our feet on them. We look at them and that's
Oh, we're all equal in that
That's-
regard. You see a piece of trash, pick it up. It doesn't matter if you're the GM or working 4 hours a week. But there are some positions we haven't hired. We do need to figure out maintenance and cleaning service, which is ironically you mentioned. Important part of the facility, though. We want it to be immaculate, and that won't just be their job. Like I said, anyone at any time will go clean the bathroom or clean up a spill. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. Any of our pros on our directors, our pros on the court will do the same thing. Otherwise though, we're looking pretty good with the staff. We're pretty hired up. I think on the pickleball side, I know Katie Farrar is our director of pickleball experience, and she's putting together some amazing programming, but we'll need to find some staff to help support her with clinics and privates. I know Karen with fitness has a good handful of instructors that'll help teach individual classes. On the tennis side, I think we are still looking for a couple of, I don't know if they'll be part-time, maybe full-time. But I think part-time right now. We're a startup, we're small. We got to get the doors open and get some money coming in before we hire any more people. So a few gaps to fill in, but we're looking really good. And the team, it's a total dream team. And there are a few people that we haven't been able to announce yet that we will, but even what we have up on our website right now is an absolute dream team of people. So that's an exciting part of it, and a big part of the product. I will say one thing I don't like to see is when I or somebody else goes into a facility and you're not greeted in a certain way, or the place is not clean, and you're just not made to feel welcome. And sometimes you feel like you're a bother being there, and we want to be the total opposite of that. Learned a lot from Holt Vaughn. He's one of our investors, and he had a long stint working with Lifetime, actually. Lifetime is very famous for being that, what'd you call it, that local pillar.
Spot in the village.
But because they were so good at making people feel so welcome, they became a regional destination. because people realized I'm treated so well when I go there. When I walk in, they know my name, they smile, they're helpful, they give me a towel, that just people wanted that environment versus the opposite of that. So that's a big part of our product is immaculate facilities, good customer service, good experience. And hopefully the rest takes care of itself.
Sounds like
So
Disney. That so if you're at Disney,
yeah,
you can't be grumpy even if your character's grumpy.
that's what we want.
Right?
That's right. Yeah,
um,
that's right.
so that's
That's the
good.
goal.
Getting people to understand what's your role, what's your character, what's that persona
Right.
that you take on when you come and leave your other cares at the door, and
Yep.
we will provide for you that. Hopefully, you're not worried about are the lights going to be on when we come home because you're
Yeah.
providing living wage opportunities and
Right.
um,
We are actually we're trying to break some not barriers, but we're trying to be unique in a sense that we do have a lot of salaried positions, healthcare benefits, 401k benefits. Costs us money to do that, but at the end of the day, hopefully it helps us attract better people and retain better people. If they're happier, they're going to spread that vibe to everybody else. And I know I do hear a lot, and you would know more than me. I don't have the teaching background that you do or that our pros do, but hear a lot about lack of salaries and lack of health benefits and things like that are pretty hard to come by. So we're hoping to be viewed as very resourceful or very capable in those areas. So hopefully that just means people want to come work at RacFit. But they gotta have the attitude and the
nice.
smile.
There you go.
That's a must.
There you
You
go.
won't work there if you don't. So,
Anything that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share with people?
oh gosh. I mean, thank you for all the great questions. I feels like you brought most of it out, and I appreciate the chance to get to talk about it. We're excited about it. I'd be lying if I didn't say we're nervous about it, but we're all there's something to say for what being passionate about something will drive you to do, and that is not just me. That's everyone on the team, and really because of that, I like our chances. There's a whole lot of other things that make me like our chances as well. The knowledge and the experience of the team, the fact that there is so much demand and small supply that's working in our favor. The interest we've already seen. Yeah, I think when all is said and done, hopefully as the years go by, we look at our books, and whether someone's a member or a participant, we get to say, look at the thousands of people that we've helped in all the ways we've talked about today, and that's what we're all driven to do. And I said something feels really sort of analog and refreshing about that in the world of technology and AI and robots taking over the world. There still has to be a human experience, and we have to take care of our bodies and our minds, and I get excited because I've kind of been in the tech space for many years. I get excited about being a part of just helping people at such a human level. I'm all out of ideas. I can't think of anything we left out.
It's I was excited to have this conversation without knowing the focus on community. I've become more excited just in this conversation of finding out
Me too.
how it's kind of becoming it's retro to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope that you have a nice big fat tail. Like so many things exist on that bell curve, and you get there and then it's a long skinny tail and it kind of fizzles out as it goes. But I'd love to see something that has some legs to it, some oomph on the other side
Yeah.
of that curve, that hump. And I'd love for it to, reason I wanted to do it is because I want to inspire others to do the same thing. I mean, I'd love to see
Yeah.
the sport grow and the opportunities for people to get out and be active when it is becoming much more sit in front of a keyboard and a screen and
Right.
do those things or twiddle thumbs on a device.
Right.
And I recognize how much I need to be active as I've gotten older. And
Same.
we could
Yep.
talk about health escape velocity, that we're getting close to where they're actually going to be able to almost reverse aging type stuff. But,
Right.
they're talking 2035, but like somebody like me who's 63 years old, how do I get from 2025 to 2035 and good
Yeah.
health? And it requires facilities like that where there's community. I live all by myself, and being someplace where I feel like there is a community and I can
Exactly.
have friends and I can go hang out and have a beer or
Yep.
whatever.
That's
all
often
those things-
overlooked.
Those things are great. Right?
Absolutely.
Not just the community center where we're going to play bingo.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
not that there's
absolutely.
anything wrong with bingo.
Move the body, socialize, and the well-being side of it actually is that's an interesting, hopeful phase too. Is adding more wellness type of services or products. So more to maybe we can meet again in a year, and hopefully I can tell you we're wildly successful and
Absolutely.
and
We'll take the studio out there and show everybody
Yeah.
what it's like.
that's let's do that. That's a
Good.
great idea. And thank you for doing your podcast. I mean, I know you do a lot of things to grow the sport, but bringing stories like this and the many others that you have to the front is inspiring. I think it's giving people really unique insights and knowledge, and so
This is
it's
the
very
fun
much
part of my
appreciated.
world. So thank
Absolutely.
you. No, thank you.
Thank you, Coach Evans.